Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. Before we get started, if you wish to hear this webinar in Spanish, please make sure to click the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen. Si desea escuchar este seminario web en español, por favor oprima el botón de interpretación en la parte inferior de su pantalla. My name is Valerie Grust. I am an Olympic swimmer from Guatemala, and I will be one of your co-hosts for today. Welcome to this new edition of Underwater Chats by Panam Aquatics. It was created by and for athletes with the goal of creating a safe conversation space for crucial subjects of development and support that are not commonly discussed in the aquatic community. We have a great webinar prepared for you today, tackling the roadblocks. And here we will discuss personal stories and practical advice on overcoming adversity in aquatic sports by returning stronger after injuries, personal and mental health struggles, and improvement challenges.
Hey everybody, my name is Marcelo Acosta. I'm a two-time Olympian from El Salvador and one of your co-hosts for tonight. And then we will also have the pleasure to have you with us today. So I'm excited for this webinar. We have an amazing panel joining us today as we embark ourselves in this conversation tonight. So for the first one, we have Kenny Gaudet. He's an artistic swimmer for the United States. So Kenny, why don't you introduce yourself for everybody?
Yes. Hello. My name is Kenny. As you just said, I am an artistic swimmer from the United States. I have been doing artistic swimming for around 13 years now, on the international level for about 2.5 years now. I just got off of World Championships, so now I just recently got my very first 2 World Championships medal in the brand new male solo event. Coming off of that, I'm relatively new to all of the international meets, I would say, and I look very forward to having this amazing chat.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much for that introduction. Next we have McKenna DeVever. She is a swimmer from Peru. So McKenna, how are you?
Good. Yeah. Thanks for having me. So a little bit about myself. I am a Peruvian Olympian. I competed in the Tokyo Olympics. I've been doing about 10 years internationally with Peru. I live in the States, so I received my undergraduate and master's degree from Texas A&M, and now on the side, I'm applying to medical school. But at Texas A&M, I was a student athlete where I was an SEC champion, helped my team place top 3 at the NCAA championships. I was a SEC champion in 800 freestyle relay and a school record holder in that, and also an All-American. And now representing Peru full time, and that's been really, really fun. Just again, came back from the World Championships in Japan, and that was a really good experience, and looking forward to this next year training for Paris.
And the resume keeps getting bigger, huh? That's awesome. That's awesome. And then last but definitely not least, we got Rodrigo Villaseñor, a water polo player from Mexico. How are we doing, Rodrigo?
Hi, Marcelo. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here. Well, as you hear, my name is Rodrigo. I used to be a water polo player. I think that I am the oldest one right here. I am an engineer and I have a second career in finance. I used to be a water polo player for my country. And the last year has been very exciting because I have had the chance to be representing Mexico as a coach and as a delegate. So we've been working so together with Panam Aquatics in the last South American Championship in Colombia and the last Pan American Championship in Brazil. And right now, and everything goes well, we will go to Lima and Santiago, and we will keep working together in the water polo community. So thank you for having me here.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you everyone for being here with us today. We're so excited for this conversation. And really, before we get started, let me say briefly how the webinar will unfold. So first, we'll open up the conversation with our panel, and then we'll transition into our Q&A section. So for our audience, please, enter your questions in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen at any point during the webinar.
Okay, awesome. So let's get this thing started, huh? So one of the first questions we have, guys, the first will be, what has been your experience with a specific roadblock? And, specifically, when it comes to improvement barriers. So can you tell us how you handled the situation and what steps you took to move past that barrier? And that question goes to anybody who wants to answer right now. So go ahead, Pat. You had the floor.
Okay, yeah, I can begin. So I think swimming is I think all sports are difficult, but in terms of swimming, you obviously put in so much hours and sacrifice. And I truly believe there's a lot more failures than there are successes in it. Those are kind of rare. And so there's definitely moments in time where you can go years without improving. And for me, definitely have hit that kind of at the beginning of college and then decided to kind of reevaluate where I was at, and which led me to make a change, which also can be super scary for a lot of people. And especially at that young age, I didn't know what to expect. I was going to transfer from one school to the other. Was the grass going to be greener on the other side? And yeah, that was a big thing. It's just sometimes you just need to change where you're at and change of scenery. And sometimes that does the job. And then also right now, even, coming off of my first Olympics, I had a really hard time finding motivation to get back and still kind of getting back into it. And I'm a 200 IMer, and right now I haven't seen an improvement since the last Olympic Games. And again, I'm frustrated, and it's, especially a year out, that's not definitely where I wanted to be at this point, but maintaining a positive mindset about it. And again, sometimes you just need to change what you're doing, and that's kind of what I'm in the process of doing, and hopefully that'll lead me to getting a best time again.
Yeah,
Amen.
thanks for sharing, Mike. And I think, Marcelo and I are both distance swimmers, so we can relate to, the struggle with the improvement barriers. And something you said is actually so important, like keeping that positive mindset and making changes, right? And for people, I think taking that step is one of the hardest things. Like for you, at least, when was that moment where you were like, this is the time that I really need to make a change in my training and my mindset in order to overcome that barrier?
I think it was just, you go to meets, right? Like just small little meets along the way, and you have certain goals for yourself and you don't accomplish those, but you're just like, let's keep pushing through. Maybe when I hit taper, it'll come together. And I just think after time, I don't know if there was like a specific moment where it was just like, this is it. But I think I was just so frustrated with what possibly like the lack of improvement that I was having. And I finally was just like, okay, I'm done. Like I'm a year out. Things got real at Worlds. I was just like, I want to be way better. I want to be the best. I don't want to leave the sport, having zero regrets. And so, or having any regrets. And so I just at that moment, time, I just said, okay, I need to switch this up.
No, I mean, absolutely. No, I mean, I think, it's just, right. It's frustrating, right? And that's something that it happens to every athlete. And then a lot of us just get stuck, right? We just get stuck, and then we're just trying to get out of there, and we do everything that we can, and we still get stuck. So, I think, that's something that every single athlete is going to experience, right? At some point, that's inevitable. It's going to happen, right? The way that you handle it. And I feel like you're handling it beautifully right now. I mean, again, like, you're a successful swimmer. I mean, let's be honest. You're a successful swimmer. And I mean, and obviously you're going to medical school. So, again, right? I mean, yes, you talk about, being frustrated. That's 100% true. But at the same time, I mean, again, you're handling it beautifully. You're being patiently, okay, gonna make some changes. Gonna do this, gonna do that, right?
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens, right? We never know. We never know what's gonna happen.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh,
I
no,
also
you're good.
super important in this whole process when you have roadblocks where you're not seeing improvements is communicating. I really rely on my mom and her advice, and am very open and honest with her of how I'm feeling and how we can find solutions. I'm open and honest with my coaches. I think that's so important, because if you bottle it up inside, there's nothing you're going to do about that. Like you're going to go nowhere. When you talk to people, you can get ideas. They can help you feel better. I mean, my mom gives me the best advice. So that's who I really lean on. And I think that that's super important to have when you're going through these tough times, is just having that support group that you can really trust and be like, okay, what you say is, I'm going to value that, and we're going to move forward, and I know I'm going to be okay.
And you know
Guys, man,
what?
take
I
notes.
mean, complementing what McKenna just said, embracing the process. You need to embrace the process of not only success, but as failure. And you have to rely on your family and your friends and your coaches in yourself, because not accepting that maybe you're not at your highest level, it is just so, so confusing picture for yourself. Because obviously you have standards, obviously you have goals, Olympics, Panams, local championships, state championships, times, diving, water pool games. Everyone has goals. So embracing the fact that you are in an improvement process every day, and you cannot do it alone. You need your family, you need your mom, you need your dog, like you need something to rely on. Embracing the process is very important, as McKenna said.
Yeah. And I also, piggybacking off that, my second year at my first university I was at, I didn't improve at all. And at the end of the season, I was devastated, super frustrated. But I looked back and I thought, you know what? It was the most fun I've ever had with that group of people. I mean, Luis Martinez, from the Olympian from Guatemala, the butterflyer, he was in my group. He is so fun to train with. And yeah, embracing every single day was a new day with him and having fun. And so it's just things like that. Yeah, you have to embrace the journey of it, because, at the end of the day, you stand on that podium for what, a minute, 2 minutes, watching your national anthem, and that's it. And 99% of it is what you do day in and day out in the pool. Or what?
Absolutely.
I mean, the guy is definitely fun to train with. I'll tell you, because I train with the guy, and he's hilarious.
He is.
Yeah.
I really agree with that, what you're saying, because I feel like I'm coming from the lower end of the spectrum, where I'm just breaking into the international stage and learning everything and finally experiencing what everyone else has experienced for many years now. So I really am I feel like I'm learning so much just by talking to all of you and like hearing your experiences, because I feel like I'm going through that myself right now, like coming off of the world champs, where I only swam a male solo, hoping to be on the team, which a month before worlds we had Olympic trials for our team, and I was just shy of making like the Olympic team cut. So I went to world swimming the male solo, and watching my teammates who are on the team like get that like first ever team medal for the US since like 2008, since they like, it's been so many years, and they're finally getting the recognition that they all deserved. And just being a part of that like journey to realize this, it really hit me hard personally. So I'm kind of in like that state of, wow, like what do I do? I took a step back, and now I'm just taking a step back from swimming and doing practice to reevaluate like myself and my goals, because I thought like I was the type of person to think like if I'm not on the team, then like nothing else matters. And now I'm like trying to realize like there's other things that matter out there besides like just the end goal. Like we all have our dreams, we all have our journeys, but I'm trying to realize and recognize what else matters to me and what else is important, because just having a medal isn't the most important thing. It's that journey that I want to accept, and I want to like really just live that passion.
And then really, I mean, like, and before we move on to the next question, I mean, that's a beautiful point that McKenna, did, right? And like, that's something that will help you and everybody. And, freshmen going into the college, right? Or high schoolers, communication is key, man. Communication is key, right? If you have that and you communicate constantly, like there's no such thing as over communicating. There's no such thing, right? I mean, you communicate with your coaches all the time, with your parents, right? With your friends. Talk about it. Talk about the time. What's going on with you? I mean, if there's something I can get out there about this, right? It's just communication. That's something so important as a coach at U of L, right? I mean, that is something that we highly, highly recommend to everybody. And that's something that they need to have. Otherwise, you cannot be on this program. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I think all of you mentioned this, and Kenny, like you were the last one to say it, enjoying that and really looking forward to other things as well. And I think every athlete really gets to the point in their career where the end result is all they can think about. And, focusing on the things that you can't control, you never really fully enjoy training and competition days. And you get into this cycle that ultimately leads you to underperform, right? So for you guys, like, how were you able to avoid or deal with that mental roadblock? And what advice do you have for athletes who are watching us right now?
If I can start, well, believe in yourself. I mean, you can say it so easily. Why don't you believe in yourself? It's looks like such an easy question, but it takes a process. And the main ingredient that I believe it is in that recipe, it is failure. And taking failure into a learning and a positive process, not into a negative hole, because you get stuck right there. And I'm telling you as a coach, I mean, right now I see McKenna and I see Kenny, like you both guys are athletes. I've been in the coach picture internationally for the last year and a half for Mexico, you know. So my sport is a team sport, you know. I have 13 athletes, so that means 13 different minds going through 13 different processes. I don't want to imagine a swimming coach which has several, you know, tryouts for several athletes. So giving back the message to the athletes of embracing every progress every single day, even though you win or even though you lost, I think that is the key. Taking a failure and a loss as a learning process, not as a failure itself. I will say that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had the Matt Credich, the head coach at Tennessee, he said once that failure is another chance for you to do it again, but do it the way that you want. And I think that that's a really good way to think about it, because I don't like failure, honestly, but I know it's going to happen. It's inevitable. It's the only way you can change and improve. But I like that because I don't like looking back at goals and thinking, wow, I could have given something more. And so being able to do that again and doing it my way, knowing that I can go all in on that, is super important for me. And that really resonated with me.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
I like
I
that.
really agree with that, McKenna. What you just said about how you don't really like to fail or anything, like I feel the exact same way. I feel like every athlete is so like thick-headed about that failure, and like always, like we're perfectionists. We always want to be the best and we always want to push ourselves to be perfect. But just like accepting that failure is like part of the journey, I would say. Like I hear it every day. My coaches are just came out, they're fresh athletes coming into coaching. Andrea Fuentes, our head coach, is many-time Olympian, many-time Olympic medalist for Spain. We have many-time world championship medalist Anna Voloshyna from Ukraine. We have an amazing group of coaches that understand both perspectives of the athlete and the coach. They know both sides, and they really give us like that type of support that we have from a coach that understands what it's like to be that high-level athlete. And that's one of the main lessons that like we all have learned on my team, about the failure and like accepting the journey as part of the journey. For me personally, I felt like I was a complete failure after not making an Olympic team, but now it's like I talk so much with my coaches and bringing back that communication skill. Like we communicated so well after during world championships about what I want to do, what I should do, because I feel like it was all over once I didn't make like the 2014, but they helped me realize like there's more. I'm just 18, so like there's like the 2018, there's the 32, like I could just keep going. But like in that mind, like I wanted to be the perfectionist of myself and was like, I'm not perfect if I don't make this team. But definitely like getting back to that, I think just accepting the failure and using that as like the fuel to like really keep it alive and the passion to keep doing it, even if you think it's like all ending, but it's really not.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
just for Kenny, I saw one of your videos on World Aquatics about after you won your medal, about how you were bullied when you were younger and you persevered on
Yeah.
the sport. I think, yes, you might have missed that team, right? And that's devastating, but you have now such a unique and special platform that people can go and like, I never was aware of bullying in that sport at all. And so now I am, and you're educating me and you're going to help other kids, future generations. I think you have so much to look forward to. That's exciting and that's success. And you should take that and be really proud of yourself.
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, that's beautiful. And the fact that you already, like, I mean, those things already and you're experiencing them, like that would just make you a much better athlete, right? And then, you know, I'm about to quote, I mean, I don't know if you guys seen Ted Lasso already, but I'm about to quote this guy. Perfection is about, well, I mean, failure is about you guys just being perfect, right? Perfect is boring. Perfect is boring. You know, like there's stuff that are perfect. You know, people say, oh, mac and cheese is perfect. Yes, it is, right? But perfection in people, right? I mean, there's not just thing as that, right? I think something that I always say, right? Just get a little bit better, right? Just get 1% better. Just what else can you get better at, right? On the waters, right? Or your dives, right? Your plays, stuff like that, right? I mean, just be more of a team player, but just 1%. How can you find a way to get just 1% better each day, right? Each practice, right? Each month, and so and so.
Yeah. And before we move on to the next question, Marcelo, I feel like now hearing you all speak, I totally agree. Like we all get to a point, like we fail and then we take those, like, oh, okay, I'm gonna come back stronger. But I think really what people never talk about is how do you do that? Right? Like we're devastated. Like I remember so many times, like when I was trying to qualify for the Olympics, it was one time after the other after the other. It was like 3 years of trying to make the cut and I would not do it. And I would be like 0.01 away and wouldn't do it. But really, like for you guys, what's that, either the fire inside you or the thoughts that you have, or even just what is that internal, like processing of you being like, I did not reach my goal, and how do I get myself? Because of course you're sad, you're disappointed, you're frustrated. How do you deal with those emotions and then kind of put them to the side? Because at one point you either have to put them and convert them to anger and kind of like train harder that way. Like, what is that process for you? Because I feel like we hear all these stories, right? Okay, I didn't make it, I persevered, but what is that process in that in between that people usually don't get to see?
Let me try to answer from a collective sport perspective.
Yeah.
The first one, it will be we as a team are not responsible for everything. You are not responsible for the referee. You are not. I mean, sometimes a ref, I mean, because they are also humans, they are also people. A ref can have a bad day and made a bad call, and that can be positive for your team or negative for your team. So, first of all, accepting that I cannot control everything in my life in the field. I can control my emotions or try to control my emotions, because we are humans. And the second of all is where were we last year? Where were we last month? When were we last week? Did the gym work? Did the place work? Did the communication start working? Did we make the right choices by picking up those athletes from those different universities and states? Where were we 4 years ago? So, from a collective team sport perspective, I will say I am not responsible for everything. The other team might be better than me. The other team might be worse than me, but maybe they're in a good day. Maybe they're lucky today. This is a collective sport. And the second one, where I actually myself, as a coach and as a representative of my federation, I find a lot of peace is where was this team? Where was this country 4 years ago? Did we were participating in Panamas? We were participating in Centro Americanos. Where were we 4 years ago? So when I see an improvement, then I say to myself, we are getting there. Those will be my 2 points as a collective sport. Not everything is under control, and try to see a comparison of ourselves from a positive perspective 1 year behind.
Yeah. I also think something that I didn't really believe in when I was younger, but have grown to see the importance of it now is taking a break. If you come back from like the world championships, that was really hard for me. And I said, you know what, I'm going to take 2 weeks off. Because, in swimming, you have to stay in the water to like 2 weeks, a week off. You feel weird getting back into the water after that. And so it's a sport that you kind of have to constantly be in the water to, have the feeling or keep the feeling of it. And anyways, R&R, rest and recovery, is so important. So, and I also worked with a sports psychologist once, and he had told me, do what fills up your tank. If taking that weekend off to go back home to your family and that fills your tank up, do it. because it's not good to keep putting yourself in this hole and keep digging it and digging it to the point where it's too hard to get out. And so that's a thing that I do now is, and obviously like not every time that you have adversity, you take breaks, but when it's, if it's big and you have that time, take it. There's no rush to get back into the water, and it's good for you.
No, absolutely. So, and then, for we all know that it takes a lot of hard work for, to get to the level of success that you desire, right? I mean, something that I have seen over and over throughout my years as an athlete and a coach now, is the unwillingness to pay the cost to reach your goals, right? I mean, what is that typically onset factor that gets you to the next level of athletic performance? And then, and by that I mean, again, like people, right, or a lot of athletes don't do what it takes. I mean, don't do what it takes. So like they're just a little too afraid now, especially now as a coach now, I see it. Right. They're just a little too afraid to push, that one set, right? That crazy set that they're doing, right? They're just a little bit scared. They're scared of doing too long on the waters. They're scared of getting tired, stuff like that. Right. So again, like what factors, so like why is that typical onset factor that gets you to the next level of athletic performance?
Marcelo, I'm sorry, Kenny,
Oh, so
you
sorry.
were about to speak.
No, you can go. I can talk after you.
I mean, mine is a small comment. It is, I'm an engineer. It's the same as the numbers. The higher the risk, the bigger the payout. No, so the higher you put in the table, the more you put in the table into the sacrifices. Because I see Kenny and I see McKenna, like also Valerie, you guys are Olympians. So I can spend here 4 hours listening to you guys, how many reunions you missed, how many parties you missed, how many sacrifices you made by leaving your country. Like that is one of the biggest ones. Like it is starting from the language barrier, because for everyone it's just beautiful just to speak Spanish or the language you speak, but going to a different country, different people, different culture. So I will finish this comment because I want to hear Kenny's opinion. Is the higher the risk, the bigger the payout. So you have to be willing to put that in the table.
True.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I hear that so much often. Like I hear that so often at practices from our coaches, always telling us like from their experiences. We hear like it's a dream hearing all of these Olympians like speak to just hearing all their journeys and their sacrifices they've made already. Like for us as artistic swimmers, we have to relocate our whole lives. As soon as we get that as soon as we join the team, we have to relocate and start full-time training. We have 48 to 50 hours weeks. We have one day off. So most of us do online school, or like in my case, I skipped all of high school and I went straight to practice. I got my GED and I headed out to Los Angeles, and I've been in full-time training since then. I finally started school, but all of us who are in school either do online school or take a leap year, so we can focus that full-time training. So really just, but everyone knows, everyone in the team that I've lived with all acknowledges and recognizes that these sacrifices are normal and what are necessary to become that high level athlete. Because if you have like you have a friend call you and say, hey, let's go to a party this weekend, but like you have to be up at 5 a.m. to go to practice, like any high level athlete will immediately say, no, I'm not going. Like I know, like this is part of the journey, this is part of the process to like decline those people who want you to who think of you as just a friend who can go out like that, but like you can't put your body into that situation and then risk the outcome of missing that one practice and waking up late and missing practice because you wanted to go out and have party for one night, when that could be the deciding factor if you get on that Olympic team, get that Olympic spot, or miss out the Olympics or miss out that medal. Like that one decision can build up and improves into bad habits of not getting that one thing that you dreamed your whole life for, like every other person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I mean, it's like, and you're gonna find out that I like quotes. I'm gonna quote a lot of people throughout this entire chat, but I mean, I'm a quote kind of guy, and I'm gonna quote Aaron Titmus, right? I think they asked her this question again. Aaron Titmus, when she first came out, right, and then she beat Ledecky out of nowhere, right? I mean, like she was somewhere young, right? Somewhere young, and she's still youngish, but like, like what I think one of the questions they ask are like, hey, like, one your coach said that what you're doing right now, it's not sacrifices, they're choices. And that's what she said. Like they are, I mean, I'm not sacrificing anything. I mean, what exactly am I sacrificing? I mean, I'm just choosing to have a life that very few people get to have, right? To do achievements that very few percentage of the entire world get to do, right? Something that nobody thought it was possible, right? And just keep raising the bar for for the next generations. But that's something that really got me, right? They're not sacrifices, they're choices, and you chose to live a life that not many people get to live, brother. So that is awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, and oh, sorry, McKenna, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think also in that it's important to remember I really believe you're a product of your environment. So if you want to elevate yourself, you have to surround yourself with people that want to elevate themselves. And from personal experience, Texas A&M was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I was on a team where girls wanted to be an Olympic medalists. They wanted to be world championship medalists. They had world record holders. I mean, they had all these insane goals. And I was like, I want to be like them. And that just elevates you. And so it's important that you surround yourself with good people in the process.
I agree. Yes. And I feel like now hearing everyone, it's like I'm torn in between. Yes, a lot of people say all the things that you need to let go in order to achieve those goals, but I think people miss exactly what you're saying, McKenna. Like, it's the environment, it's the goals that you have, it's what's your purpose every day, right? I remember in college we used to have a sign right at the exit of the locker room, and we would all hit it, like, believe in yourself, and like, give 150% today. Like 100% is never enough. So it's that mindset. I feel like a lot of people focus on, oh, you didn't go to a party because you had to train, right? But what if you didn't go to the party and you went to practice and you didn't do a good job at practice, right? Like, you weren't doing everything you were supposed to do, you weren't focusing on details, you didn't stretch beforehand, you didn't do rehab after, you didn't recover properly. Yes, it's about the sacrifice. Yes, like at that point, really you could have gone to the party and, had a good time, trained at a different time, maybe, I don't know. But I feel like people usually focus on all the things they need to let go. But I do believe you can achieve a certain balance. Of course, no, you can't have everything. You have to make some choices. But I feel like exactly what you're saying, McKenna, is the environment, is that day to day, I think that people often miss. And it's just at practice, as Marcela was saying, like, how do you approach sets? Are you going to give it your all? Are you afraid to, feel pain because, it's hard? And I'm assuming water polo, you get hit a lot. There's a ball flying around. There's people swimming next to you. Kenny, I'm assuming also all the challenges you have with artistic swimming, you have to hold your breath for, I don't know for how long. I don't know how you guys do it. Swimmers, we just swim and swim and swim crazily. So I don't know. I think for me, that's something that's always, how do we communicate that to the next generation of, they think being an elite athlete equals you have to let go of all these parts of your life. But I don't think that should be the case, right? Like, you can be your full person. You can be a friend. You can be, you're still that individual and not just the athlete, right? You're the friend, you're the family member, you're the person that has other hobbies and other interests besides your sport. So I don't know. I've tried to have these conversations with like younger generations, but it's so hard. How do you explain that, right?
I mean, it is super hard,
Yeah.
but I will use just one word to the younger generations, because I mean, Kenny is, I hear, what, 21 right now,
18.
Kenny? I mean,
18.
18, you have like 4 Olympic cycles ahead of you, like, so but I train kids 15 under, 14 under, 12 under, 18 under, and those are, I mean, the 14 under are really kids, you know, they are no teenagers, they are kids. So how do you translate this conversation of all of us to that generations? I will say being kind. Being kind. You have to be kind because I can step here saying that I'm Olympian, I am the best coach, the best player, the best swimmer, the best whatever, the best whatever you want to be. But if you are not kind, you know, people remembers you by how you make them feel. So you need to be kind with the younger athletes. And then you need to start communicating what Kenny and McKenna have said. You know, you need to effort, you need to not sacrifice, but also like Marcelo said, making choices. You have to make the right choices, even though some days you don't make the right choices. Even though some days your coach was in a bad mood, maybe it wasn't your best day. By but transmitting this to the younger generations, I will say be kind, be humble, because you know the world right now, the society right now is just full of obviously good people, but also some mean people. So just be kind to the younger ones.
Yeah, and that's
Mhm.
actually a perfect segue for our next question. So we really want to talk about injuries and mental health struggles. And these are never easy to deal with, especially, you know, in the middle of the season when you least expect it. So how have you guys really dealt with difficult times with any of these issues? And what's your advice to stay motivated even when things are tough?
I feel like I have a lot of experience with this given my history of bullying with ever since I was 5, basically. I started synchro when I was 5, so synchro artistic swimming when I was 5 years old, and I've been doing it now 13 years. So I feel like just like any other guy in this sport, we've put up with our share of bullying and harassment and verbal abuse from any other person. And it's definitely put me through the ringer. Like I've had so many times when I want to quit. I've had so many times when I want to do harmful things to myself, and just I couldn't like at one point in my life I was not even that long ago I was on like antidepressants because I really couldn't put up with anything anymore. Um and to get through that really is one of the hardest challenges I've ever gone through. And but I got here today because of all the support I've had. So really when when all the others are saying like surround yourself with the people to push you and to make you better, that's really like I want to emphasize that because the people who were surrounding me were the people who got me through it. My family, my coaches, my teammates, my loved ones, they really helped me out, and through that I was able to get the medical help that I needed. And now I'm here today to be able to speak to everyone about like what happened to me, because I got the help that I needed. And some people don't want to take that step forward. Um, but I really like want to encourage people, if they're scared to, if they don't feel like they want to just do it, because it's not nothing harmful for you, because it's going to help you in the long run. It's going to benefit you. It's nothing that's going to be bad for you, just to reach out and ask for help.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Kenny. That's, you know, you're such a great example of someone who has gone through that adversity, and like look at you now as an amazing person that you are, and the amazing athlete too. And I want to echo what McKenna said earlier, you know, like you are with your platform now, you know, you're inspiring so many people, and now even sharing your story, you know, how people can get through it, you know, asking for help and all those things. So thank you so much for sharing. And you know, during this time, like what is it that kept you, you know, like I want to keep doing this, like this is, you know, the path I want to follow, and this is a sport I love. Like what are, you know, the steps that you took to overcome that?
I heard a lot of back talk saying, why are you in this sport? Why is a guy in this sport? When I was growing up and doing the sport, my club coach was like getting all this comments from other coaches in Florida, because I grew up in Florida. Like, why do you have a guy on your team? Why do you allow him to swim? And really, I grew up doing the sport because I fell in love with it. at first I just wanted to be better than my sister because I just followed her into it. But I fell in love very fast with the artistic side and the expression. I can express myself how I feel like, and I feel like I express way better in the water than on land. Like I can't dance, but in the water I feel amazing.
Yeah.
And that set aside and allowed me to keep pushing despite like all the hardships and all the pain I felt, because I fell in love with what I do, and it really created an identity for me to just push past all the pain. Now I embrace this slander and all the talk because it's gotten me so far. Like I hear all those people talking about me, but I still swim because I love to do it, and there's no one that can stop me now. Like I just got to that point where it doesn't affect me anymore. I just brush it off, and you can do what you love, because just I want to stress so much that the environment that you're around really helps you, because like if I wasn't there with all the support, and if I didn't have my family, my coaches, my teammates pushing me and supporting me to just be better and like to just push it off, don't listen, Kenny, like if I didn't have that, it really would have like I would have been on a different path now, because I really needed that support, and really it really helps to have those people surrounding you that love you and care for you.
Man, next time I talk to my kids, I'm gonna quote you. I can already tell. I'm gonna quote you. Like again, I mean, like, dude, like you're just having so much experience and you handle it beautifully. Like, again, I mean, like, I mean, you're just scratching the surface. I can already tell. You're just scratching the surface, and I cannot wait to see what you do next. Again, everybody, right, on this panel, not just you, but everybody. I cannot see what you guys can do next, in the future. But and then for this point, for this question, at some point, athletes, may lose the trust in their coaches and the process. That's like super common at some point, right? But trusting what you do and truly believe in yourself and those supporting you in that journey, right? It's a huge factor for success. It's a huge factor, right? So my question is, have you ever felt like you lost the trust in in the process or the coaches? And if so, how were you able to get back on track?
Maybe
think-
McKenna.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just think ask questions. I remember at the first university I was at, I didn't necessarily understand why we were doing the things we were doing. And so I just asked questions, and you, again, open that dialogue for that communication. I think that that's the best way, because what are you going to do? Just keep swimming and not, or keep doing your sport and not being confident in what you're doing? It doesn't make sense. So just, yeah, I think the best thing is, it's hard. It's hard sometimes to go to coaches and be vulnerable in that sense, but understanding that in the end it's going to really pay off and help you get to a point where you're confident and you can do more than what you ever thought you could is super important. So,
And that is true. Well, I mean, like, like as a coach, I mean, like, obviously, like, no, the swimmers are going to come to us and tell us, like how they're feeling or like what's going on. And we can ask them all we want, but like sometimes they're not going to say everything. Right. And then, like, man, we're not mind, like, I mean, Rodrigo and I, like, we're not mind readers. Right. Like we cannot tell what's going on. Right. So again, like, I mean, like you said, that is a huge factor. And then I go back to it, right, all the time. Communicate with me. If you don't tell me what's going on, I cannot help you. I can't help you, right? So again, like communication, right, is a huge piece for success as well. Well, I don't know what the panelists have to say about that.
Marcelo, complementing what you just said, as a coach, because I mean, McKenna was saying, I mean, I believe that the point that McKenna said and the experience just Kenny shared with us is super like strong bonding in a same message. Communication, it might be one of them. But as a coach, because you cannot be an athlete without a coach, like it's hard. I mean, you need to improve in changing yourself of university, changing your coach, or following your self coach. But putting your ego aside as a coach, putting your ego aside, because certainly there are better coaches than myself for sure. I mean, in water polo, Hungary, Spain, USA water polo, um, that's better water polo than the one we have in Mexico right now. So first of all, putting your ego aside, then I will start, like, as McKenna Kenny said, listening the athletes. But as the coach needs to understand that the coach also needs to get improvements every day, because you get to do your play as a water polo, or you get to do your set as a swimmer, or you get to do your routine as a synchro, and but what else? What else? Where do the athlete lose the confidence in their coach when the coach keeps 3 years doing the same thing? You know, and that's a very thin line between perseverance and stubbornness, because well, maybe we get to the Olympic medal doing the same thing for the last 4 years, but maybe we need to switch the wheel to a different perspective and to listen to other ones. The last year and a half, I've been sharing the chair with better coaches than myself, and I have felt back again in the school. It's been so rewarding to put the ego aside, which is very difficult. Like, it's super difficult to put the ego aside and just keep learning from the best. So from a coach perspective, and I know you understand this, Marcelo, because I hear you're also a coach. Woo! Getting back into the school and keep learning as you were the athlete, and then give back to your community.
Oh yeah, always learning, still learning.
Yeah.
Like that thousands of books that they gave me, and it's just still learning, man. Like, it's never ending process, never ending process. Oh yeah, updating, right? Updating, upgrading. Oh yeah.
Then Kenny and McKenna, do you guys have anything to add?
No, this is kind of random, but I think that if you're ever, I don't know if book readers are out there, but if you're ever struggling with how to persevere through a challenge, a good book is Can't Hurt Me. It's by David Goggins. It's so good, and it talks a lot about possessing grit and just, again, having that positive mindset, what that can bring to you. It's a really inspirational story of this man who became the most decorated Marine person in history, and really good story. Highly recommend it.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's something that I would recommend, always, is that I guess, like, obviously we're talking about, athletes, losing the trust, like losing the trust in the process, losing trust in the coach, right? And then switching and then doing all these things, but like not really trusting anymore. Like, if there's something that I can say out there, really, it's just that's just overthinking, man. Like, you just gotta go back to when you were a kid. When you were a kid, like, somebody will tell you to do something and you'll be like, okay, right? I mean, like, like, they'll make you jump uh the 10-meter, right, platform, like, okay, right, you would just do it, right? Like, you won't even think about it, you just do it. You just do it. And you just do it, right? And then, that's something that I really I want to say, is that yeah, I mean, just stop. I mean, really, just stop thinking. Just let the body do what it was trained to do, right? Don't overthink anything. Don't think anything. And I'm sorry, Kenny, I think I cut you off, but yeah, what do you want to say?
No, I just really want to acknowledge and say, like, I experienced what you and Rodrigo were saying, like, firsthand. I really have seen my coaches themselves, like, always learning and always wanting to learn and always being that student, so they give back to us, the athletes. Because, like, like I said, like, I have young coaches, but very well decorated across their discipline, and it's really just an honor to be able to be coached by such a magnificent and, like, amazing individual, while also learning, like, they're also human, so they also make mistakes and they also don't know everything, but they are
Yeah.
still treating themselves like a student and learning from that. So just emphasizing and, like, acknowledging, like, that's just so true. Like, the coaches are always learning, and the athletes can put their trust in them, because if you really have that coach that's always learning and always like wanting to be that student, then they'll always find the best ways for you as an athlete to grow and be better, but also not just be that stubborn and thick-headed person who's like, this schedule works the best. They have open minds. I feel like newer coaches, they're more open-minded, and because they're coming from like the fresh athlete experience, and being that open-minded individual allows for the flexibility and just creativity to join from the athlete and the coach's perspective.
Yeah,
Mm.
awesome. Well, thank you guys for sharing. Now we will have a really quick Q&A section. So I would like to remind our audience that if you have any questions for our panelists, please submit them through the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. We'll try to get as many questions as we can. So to our panelists, if you can give brief responses so we can get through all of them, that would be awesome. So Marcelo, take it away.
Okay, well, let's see. First question is for, again, and this for anyone, right? How do you come back from, after injuries, right? What's the process of coming back after injuries? I guess, what's the best, way to come back after a big injury? I know that's very broad, but, you just give me your best.
Yeah. So I suffered an injury in 2019, a year out from, well, what was supposed to be the Olympics, where I had two herniated discs. And for me, the most important thing was finding a physician or a PT, whoever who's taking care of you, that believes in you and that believes in your goals. I went through a couple doctors prior to the one that I had found that really didn't have a lot of answers for me. They weren't really optimistic about what I wanted to do. And so finally coming across that one physician where he was like, yeah, it's going to take a lot of effort on your part, but we can figure out a way to make this work and get you to become healthy again. And so I think that's important. So again, like I had talked about prior, just surrounding yourself with people that are good and that are positive and believe in you. But also, like, again, we had talked about, I leaned a lot on the support of my family. That was really important. My dad was an athlete growing up through college, and he had a lot of experiences that we can relate to. So just having that type of communication was important. And so, and just staying on top of it too, like preventative measures in terms of like injuries, take that seriously. Go and educate yourself about different exercises you can do. I mean, like shoulders are really prone to swimmers are really prone to shoulder injuries. And so it's like, what exercises can we do to prevent that? It's definitely worthwhile spending the extra 15 to 20 minutes prior to getting into the pool, working on that, or spending an hour after twice a week doing recovery stuff. Super important. Take care of your body. You got one lifetime, you got finite amount of time to make your dreams happen. And so take good care of it. That was a big thing that I had learned. I have to take care of my body and prioritizing that.
Oh yeah, that's quote number 2 on my list.
Anyone else injuries? Do you want to comment on?
I mean, Kenny, you're still an athlete, so you can
Yeah,
just
I
give
mean,
feedback. Yeah.
I have my share of injuries. I had a pretty big concussion this year. Since we do many lifts, artistic swimming in a whole has a total different rule change this year. So there's now a third team routine where it's called highlight, and it's focused on all lifts. And at the beginning of the year, I was in the team swimming as a base for highlight. So I was the one with the flyer right directly above my head, so I would get hit a lot. And there was just one time where I just got hit pretty badly. I got a concussion and I was out for a pretty long time. And coming back from that, it was very long and hard. I feel like I couldn't go to I couldn't swim at our first competition because I was having continuous like head problems. And I feel like the brain is a little bit trickier with other parts of the body. So really just taking the time that the doctors obviously tell you that you have to, like, not cutting it short because you're like, oh, one day you're like, oh, I feel good, I can get in, like, do a run through or like a full out of our routines, but then you really suffer from it the next day. so taking that long period of time where the doctor says you can't do this, so you have to do what you can. I mean, starting around, like I was doing just walking around the pool, like that was my form of working out for the day. So it was really just starting to get that little big toe back into the pool and swimming lightly, and then building up the tolerance. Just following what McKenna said, like finding that right doctor that believes in you and wants to, like, understands your goals and understands like what type of push that you have to do and what you're about to, like what you're about to do to your body just to get there. So
Yeah.
definitely that person, that doctor that would help you understands you and understands, like, I feel like once you find that person, you can really be honest and just say like, hey, look, you have to stay out for like 2 months. And that's where like the trust builds, because they want what's best for you too, just like any other person, like just like your coach, they want what's best. And so you really like learn to listen to the
Yeah.
specialists and the specialists, and that's when you just build the trust and know like this is part of the process, this is what's going to get you there.
Absolutely. And then we had time for one more question, and that will be for your specific disciplines. What are challenges that you typically face on your own sports? Like probably like the most common ones, I would say.
As an athlete, which I am no longer, I am right now. As an athlete, I would say choose your position, because we have main, I mean, we have goalies, we have shooters, we have defenders, choosing the position you like to develop, choosing the position you feel inspired by, because everyone has their own role and everyone is so key important to the team. So as an athlete, I will say just play the position you love, As a coach, I will go back to the conversation we have, is having empathy and listening to your athletes, because not everyone thinks the same as you. So that will be my answer as coach.
I think for swimming, a big challenge is probably lack of improvement. That's probably the biggest. I mean, because it's just you and the time, and that's what we swim, is to be faster, to get a faster time. And so that's probably a big challenge we face. And also burnout. I mean, swimming, you're in the pool 24/7, it feels like, and it's a 365-day sport. You don't take time off, and that can take a toll. So again, finding that balance is super important.
Beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. What I agree with you, McKenna, about that burnout, because for artistic swimming, we can spend up to 6 to 8 hours a day in the pool. And 6 days a week, it gets really like strenuous on the body, and learning how to deal with that is like a great lesson to learn for any high level athlete, is learning how to deal with your burnout by either taking a step back and realizing what else you can do just to like stay happy while you're doing it, because you want to enjoy the process, but you don't want to just put yourself through that pain every day and not have fun. You want to have fun with it. So learning to those type of things really help.
Awesome. Well, thank you to our incredible panelists, Kenny, McKenna, and Rodrigo. This was fantastic to chat with you guys about your aquatic journeys. Thank you so much for sharing all of your experiences with us. And we invite all of you to join us in the next edition of this webinar series, which will be Navigating Media on September 9th. So stay tuned for more information on the Pan Aquatics social media pages. Go follow us. Share the registration link with everyone. We want to get all the aquatic community involved with this. So we hope everyone has a great weekend, and thank you so much. Goodbye, everyone.
Oh yeah. Thank you guys. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Ciao.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Bye. That's a success for everybody.